Why would someone pay $5 for a cup of coffee when they could make one at home for less than $1? That's the question behind one of the most successful coffee businesses in the world, Starbucks. Millions of people walk into Starbucks every day. They buy coffee, cold drinks, pastries, sandwiches, and increasingly customized drinks that can cost far more than ordinary coffee. But here's the interesting part. Starbucks isn't simply selling coffee, it's selling something much bigger: a habit, a brand, a convenient location, a personalized experience, and a reason for customers to come back again and again. Today, Starbucks has more than 41,000 company-operated and licensed stores across 90 markets, but it started with something much smaller: one store, a few passionate coffee lovers, and an idea that would eventually change the way millions of people around the world drink coffee. So how did Starbucks turn an ordinary cup of coffee into a global business? The answer begins in Seattle. In 1971, three friends, Gerald Baldwin, Gordon Bowker, and Zev Siegel, opened the first Starbucks at Seattle's Pike Place Market. They weren't trying to build a global empire, they wanted to bring high-quality roasted coffee beans to Seattle. The original Starbucks wasn't the modern coffeehouse we know today. It focused on selling coffee beans, tea, and spices for customers to take home. The three founders invested their own money and borrowed additional funds to get the business started. Then something happened that would completely change the company's future. A young businessman named Howard Schultz joined Starbucks in 1982, and Schultz saw something the original founders didn't immediately see. He had experienced Italian coffee culture, and he believed American customers could fall in love with the coffeehouse experience too. The idea wasn't just buy coffee, it was, come in, sit down, talk, relax, and make this place part of your daily life. That idea would eventually transform Starbucks from a coffee retailer into a global coffeehouse brand. In 1983, Howard Schultz traveled to Milan, Italy, and what he saw there changed his vision for Starbucks. Italian cafes weren't simply places where people bought espresso, they were social spaces. People stopped, talked, relaxed, and returned regularly. Schultz wanted to bring that experience to America, but the original Starbucks founders were focused primarily on selling coffee beans, so Schultz left the company and started his own coffeehouse business called Il Giornale, and he used Starbucks coffee beans in his stores. Then, in 1987, an opportunity appeared. Starbucks founders were ready to sell the company. Schultz raised $3.8 million and acquired Starbucks assets through Il Giornale. He then turned Starbucks into the coffeehouse business he had envisioned. This was the turning point. Starbucks wasn't just going to sell coffee beans, it would sell handcrafted drinks, inside carefully designed coffee houses, with a consistent experience. The company had discovered something incredibly valuable. Customers weren't only paying for the ingredients, they were paying for the experience around the product, and that opened the door to a much bigger business. Here's where Starbucks' business model becomes interesting. Imagine you walk into Starbucks for one simple reason: you want coffee, but before you leave, you might buy something completely different. Maybe a latte, maybe a cold drink, maybe an extra shot of espresso, maybe a pastry, maybe a sandwich. Suddenly, that one visit is worth much more than a simple cup of coffee, and Starbucks has spent decades building its menu around that idea. In fiscal 2025, beverages represented about 73% of company-operated store sales, while food represented about 23%. But the bigger strategy is personalization. Customers can customize drinks with different milks, syrups, flavors, toppings, sizes, and additions. That turns one basic product into hundreds of possible combinations, and customers become comfortable ordering exactly what they like. This creates another powerful effect. Once someone has a favorite drink, they don't just have a favorite product, they have a routine. Maybe it's the coffee before work, the drink during a shopping trip, or the afternoon pickup. And once Starbucks becomes part of someone's routine, the company doesn't have to convince that person to buy coffee from scratch every day. The habit does much of the work, but Starbucks found another way to make that habit even stronger: its loyalty program. Starbucks doesn't want you to visit once, it wants you to come back, again, and again, and again. That's where Starbucks Rewards becomes incredibly important. Customers can earn stars through purchases and eventually exchange rewards for products. Starbucks also uses its stored value cards and mobile app to make payment and ordering easier. Think about what happens when you put money onto a Starbucks card. You've already committed money to Starbucks. Then, you have another reason to return. And when you use the app, ordering becomes faster, your favorite products are easier to access, and rewards encourage another purchase. It's a simple psychological loop. Buy, earn stars, get rewards, return, buy again. Starbucks also offers mobile order and pay in participating markets, allowing customers to order ahead for pickup. This isn't just about technology, it's about reducing friction. The easier it is to buy, the easier it becomes to make the purchase part of your routine. And Starbucks has another advantage: its stores are everywhere. Which brings us to another major part of the strategy. Location is incredibly important in the coffee business. A Starbucks near an office building, a shopping center, a university, or a busy street can become part of people's daily routine. Starbucks specifically says its company-operated stores are typically located in high-traffic, high-visibility locations, including downtown areas, suburban retail centers, office buildings, university campuses, and other settings. And Starbucks doesn't rely only on company-operated stores, it also uses licensed stores. In a licensed location, Starbucks can receive royalties and sell branded products and supplies to the operator, while the licensee takes responsibility for operating costs and capital investment. This gives Starbucks another way to expand its brand. You can find Starbucks in places where customers already are, including airports, hotels, stores, and other high-traffic locations, and that creates an enormous network. By late March 2026, Starbucks reported more than 41,000 company-operated and licensed stores worldwide. But Starbucks doesn't make money only from drinks sold inside its coffee houses. There's another side of the business that many customers don't think about. If you think Starbucks only makes money when a barista hands you a drink, you're missing a major part of the business. Starbucks also sells coffee, tea, and ready-to-drink products through other channels. The company has a major partnership with Nestlé, known as the Global Coffee Alliance. That allows Starbucks-branded products to reach consumers outside traditional Starbucks coffee houses, and licensed stores create another revenue stream. In fiscal 2025, licensed stores accounted for 12% of Starbucks' total net revenue. Starbucks receives royalties and other fees, while also selling coffee, tea, food, and equipment to licensees. There's also something interesting about Starbucks' stored value cards. Customers load money onto Starbucks cards before they actually redeem that money for products. Starbucks reported more than $200 million in company-operated store breakage revenue in fiscal 2025, representing balances that historically are not expected to be redeemed. So Starbucks has built multiple layers around a simple product. Coffee brings customers in. Food and customization increase the purchase. Rewards encourage them to return. Licensed stores expand the brand, and packaged products take Starbucks beyond the coffee house. That's how a coffee company becomes much more than a coffee company. So what's the real Starbucks secret? It's not the coffee beans, it's not the green logo, and it's not even the $5 latte. The real business is the system surrounding the coffee. Starbucks turned a simple product into a daily habit. It built recognizable stores in convenient locations. It created a powerful loyalty ecosystem. It encouraged customization. It expanded through licensed locations. And it brought Starbucks products into grocery stores and other channels around the world. The genius isn't selling one cup of coffee for more money. It's convincing millions of people to come back and buy another one tomorrow, and another one the day after that. Because the most valuable customer isn't the person who buys once. It's the customer who turns a product into a routine. That's what Starbucks built. Not just a coffee company, but a global habit. This is behind the money, and behind every billion-dollar company, there is a story.